I woke up early on Sunday to visit the big town market. My friend Tom decided to join me for this shopping adventure. We sat in a small cafe to plan our total budget. I opened my pink wallet and counted my paper money carefully. Tom held a long list of things we needed for our new house. I wanted to find a nice clock and some fresh food. Everything in the shops is usually very expensive on weekends. At the market, I can always ask for a better price. Tom asked me how much I wanted to spend on decorations. I told him that 50 euros was my maximum limit today. He looked at the list and shook his head slowly. We needed to be very smart with our coins and notes. I checked my white blouse in the mirror before we left. The yellow ribbon in my hair felt very bright and cheerful. Tom wore his favorite blue t-shirt and comfortable blue jeans. We walked together toward the main square of the town. The sun was warm and the streets were full of life. I felt very happy about finding some beautiful old things. Tom carried a large empty bag for all our future purchases. He is very strong and always helps me with heavy items. I explained to him that asking for the price is an art. You must always smile and be polite to the sellers. Sometimes the first price is not the real price at all. We arrived at the entrance of the crowded outdoor market. There were hundreds of stalls with clothes, food, and toys. I saw a very beautiful wooden table near the first corner. Tom wanted to buy it immediately without checking the cost. I stopped him and told him to wait for a moment. We needed to compare different sellers to save some money. The air was full of the smell of spices and flowers. I took a deep breath and looked for the antique section. My heart beat fast because I love old wooden objects. Tom followed me closely through the busy groups of people. I saw a small clock that looked like it was from 1950. It was perfect for my small desk in the living room. I touched the cold glass of the clock with my fingers. The seller was an old man with a very big hat. I prepared myself to ask my very first question of the day. Tom stood next to me and looked at the clock curiously. Our real shopping journey started at that very second. I looked at the old man and gave him a friendly smile. "How much is this beautiful clock?" I asked him softly. The man looked at the clock and then at my yellow ribbon. He said that the price was 45 euros for this piece. Tom looked surprised because that was almost our whole budget. I knew that 45 euros was too high for a small clock. I looked for small scratches on the wooden frame of the item. "Is this the final price?" I asked with a quiet voice. The seller told me that the clock was very rare and old. I told him that I only had 30 euros for a clock. He shook his head and said that was far too low. Tom checked the time on his own modern digital watch. I noticed that the clock did not have a battery inside. I asked the man if the clock worked perfectly every day. He promised that it was in great condition for its age. We talked for 5 minutes about the history of the market. Finally, the man offered me the clock for 35 euros. That was a much better price for my pink leather wallet. I looked at Tom and he gave me a small positive nod. I took 35 euros and gave them to the old seller. He wrapped the clock in some old brown paper for me. Tom put the heavy package into our large shopping bag. I felt very proud of my first successful negotiation today. We still had 15 euros left for the rest of our list. Tom said that he was getting a little bit hungry now. I told him we should go to the fruit and vegetable stalls. Fresh apples and pears are usually quite cheap at this hour. We walked past a stall with many colorful silk umbrellas. I asked the price of a blue umbrella for my mother. It was only €5, but I decided to wait for later. We needed to buy the important things on our list first. The fruit section was at the other end of the big square. I saw some red apples that looked very sweet and juicy. Price was written on a small piece of white cardboard. Said €2 for 1 kilogram of these red apples. Tom picked up a very big apple and smelled it happily. I asked the lady for 2 kilograms of the best apples. She put them in a paper bag and weighed them on a scale. Paying for food is easier because the prices are fixed. We walked to the next stall to find some green vegetables. The next stall had many green cucumbers and long carrots. I wanted to buy some potatoes for a big Sunday dinner. There was no price tag on the large bag of potatoes. I asked the young woman for the price of 5 kilograms. She said that a 5-kilogram bag cost only €4. That was a very good deal for such a lot of food. Tom lifted the heavy bag and put it in his backpack. I paid €4 and took my change of €1 back. We moved to the cheese section to find something special. I saw a very large wheel of yellow cheese on the table. A small piece of this cheese was €3.50. I asked the seller if I could taste a small piece first. He cut a tiny slice and gave it to me on a knife. The cheese was very salty and had a wonderful strong taste. I decided to buy 2 pieces for my friends and family. Tom checked our budget and said we had €7 left. We still needed a small vase for the fresh garden flowers. There was a woman selling beautiful ceramics near the fountain. I saw a small white vase with blue flowers painted on it. I asked her for the price of the smallest ceramic vase. She told me that the small ones were €8 each. That was €1 more than the money in my pink wallet. I looked at Tom and he checked his jeans pockets quickly. He found a €2 coin that he forgot about this morning. Now we had €9 in total for the ceramic vase. I asked the woman if she could give it to me for €6. She laughed and said that €7 was her best price. I agreed and gave her the €7 from my hand. The vase was very delicate, so I held it very carefully. Tom took the heavy bag of potatoes from his tired shoulders. We sat on a stone bench near the water to rest a bit. I looked at all the things we bought with our small budget. We had a clock, apples, potatoes, cheese, and a vase. Tom was very happy because we still had €2 left. He said that €2 was enough for 2 small cookies. I saw a bakery stall that sold fresh lemon biscuits. Price was exactly €1 for 1 large biscuit. I asked for 2 biscuits and paid our last €2. The biscuits were still warm and smelled like fresh fruit. We sat in the sun and enjoyed our sweet reward together. While we ate our biscuits, I saw a beautiful silk scarf. It was hanging on a tall rack near the exit of the market. Colors were purple and gold like a royal sunset. I didn't have any more money, but I wanted to know the cost. I walked to the stall and touched the soft silk fabric. The seller was a young girl with a very kind face. I asked her for the price of the purple and gold scarf. She told me it was €15 because it was handmade. I told her that it was a very fair price for such work. Tom looked at the scarf and said it would look great on me. I told him that my wallet was empty after the ceramic vase. The girl said she would be here again next Sunday morning. I promised to save some money and come back for it later. It is important to know when to stop spending your cash. Tom agreed and said we had everything from our main list. We watched a street musician playing a guitar nearby. I wanted to give him a coin, but I spent my last cent. Tom said he would bring some extra coins next time. We stood up and prepared to walk back to our apartment. The market was starting to close as the sun went down. Many sellers were changing their prices to sell items faster. I saw the apple lady selling bags for only €1 now. That is another good rule for shopping at the town market. If you wait until the end, things are often much cheaper. But sometimes the best items are already gone by then. I was happy that I bought my clock early in the morning. We walked past the old man with the big antique hat. He waved at us and asked if the clock was still working. I told him it was the star of our shopping bag today. Tom felt the weight of the potatoes and laughed a little. He said he would be very strong after carrying these bags. I offered to carry the bag of red apples for him. The street was quieter now that the market was finishing. I felt a sense of peace after a long and busy day. Learning to ask for the price made me feel very clever. Tom said he learned a lot about bargaining from me today. He used to pay the first price every time he went shopping. I told him that saving a few euros is always a good idea. We reached the corner of our street and saw our building. It was time to go home and decorate our new rooms. We entered the apartment and put the bags on the floor. I took the old clock out of the brown paper slowly. It looked even more beautiful in the light of my room. Tom found a small battery in a kitchen drawer for me. We put the battery inside and listened for the sound. Clock started to tick with a very steady rhythm. I placed it on the wooden shelf near the big window. Then I took the white vase and filled it with water. I put some yellow flowers from the garden into the vase. The blue flowers on the ceramic looked perfect with the yellow. Tom was busy putting the potatoes in the kitchen cupboard. He washed 2 red apples and gave one of them to me. We sat on the sofa and looked at our beautiful new shelf. The total cost of the decorations was only €42. I felt like a professional interior designer on a budget. Tom said that the room felt much more like a home today. He asked if we could go to the market again next month. I told him that we still needed a mirror for the hallway. We could start saving our small coins in a glass jar. I found an empty jar and put it on the kitchen table. This would be our special market fund for future items. Tom put a 10-cent coin into the jar to start it off. I laughed and said that every cent is very important. We decided to cook the potatoes for our dinner tonight. The smell of boiling potatoes filled the whole apartment. I cut the salty cheese into small pieces on a plate. This was a very simple but very delicious evening meal. We talked about the people we met at the town market. The old man with the clock was my favorite person today. Tom liked the young girl who sold the handmade scarves. I realized that the market is about people, not just things. Asking for the price is a way to talk to your neighbors. I checked the time on my new old clock on the shelf. It was exactly 7 o'clock in the evening already. The sun was disappearing behind the tall city buildings. I felt very tired but also very satisfied with our day. Tom offered to wash the dishes after our potato dinner. I sat in my favorite chair and looked at the yellow ribbon. Shopping can be a lot of work, but it is also fun. I was ready to dream about purple and gold silk scarves. The night was very quiet as I sat in my living room. I opened my small pink wallet to check my coins again. There was nothing left, but my heart was very full. I thought about the rules for asking the price one more time. Rule number 1 is to always be kind and very respectful. Rule number 2 is to know exactly what you want to buy. Rule number 3 is to never be afraid to say no. I looked at the tick-tock of the clock on the wooden shelf. It was a witness to a very successful Sunday morning. Tom knocked on the door and brought me a cup of tea. He said the tea was free because he made it himself. We laughed at his small joke and drank the warm tea. He asked me what the most important lesson of the day was. I told him that price is just a number, but value is different. The value of the clock was more than the 35 euros. It was about the memory of the walk and the old man's stories. Tom agreed and said he felt the same about his heavy potatoes. He was happy to help me and spend time at the market. I decided to write a small blog post about my smart shopping. Maybe other people want to learn how to save their money too. I took a photo of the clock and the vase with my phone. Colors looked great in the soft light of the evening. I felt like I was part of a very old tradition of trading. People have been asking for the price for thousands of years. It is a basic part of human life and communication. I looked at the market fund jar on the kitchen table. Tomorrow I will put my coffee money into that glass jar. In a few weeks I will have enough for the silk scarf. I can imagine the purple fabric around my white blouse. Tom said he would help me find a mirror next time too. He's a very good friend and a very helpful shopping partner. My yellow ribbon was now on the table next to my tea. I felt the sleep coming to my eyes slowly and peacefully. The day was a perfect example of a smart and happy life. I am Elena and I know how to find a good bargain. I hope every Sunday can be as productive as this one. Clock on the shelf ticked for the final time today. I closed my eyes and smiled at the thought of the market. Everything has a price, but some moments are truly priceless. Our Sunday adventure was the best gift I could receive.
Leave a comment under this video and one of you will get 40 English lessons for free.